Right. So let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about healing, brother. How, the worst situation ever for a family member, and then going to prison and jail and being involved or seeing some of the worst things, brother. How do we heal these streets, man? And, how do we make sure that no one else has to go through these things, brother? What is your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's definitely the power of influence, and uh, before it's too late is what I'm recognizing because of how, from the bottom up, children aren't even being allowed to develop a sense of reasoning. It's happening so fast now that they don't even that process. The brain is working and it's developing. At these ages that we're referring to. It's like, man, that's you know when you those who know science, man, because it got to be paid attention to. And cats in the pen and everywhere I went, as far as how we learned to adapt to this, we had the diagrams. You know what I'm saying? We had to learn what to hit. You understand what I'm saying? We had to learn the anatomy, the physiology, in order to make sure that we don't get shot because of the seconds that it takes to, we got to do what we're doing on these levels when it comes to how we do what we do every day in that environment. Yeah, you become masters of destruction.
So yeah, but now when I come to the house, when I come home, how do I adapt? Because I'm used to living that kind of way while in prison. And let me just share with you my first day home. It was 9 o'clock. I'm in the Rouse Market, and I felt jittery. I know it's yard recall. This is the time I'd have been taking a shower, man, and trying to, hurry up and, to get my door unlocked or whatever, man. And so I felt fucked up, and I called my homeboy Rabbit from A-Tray. And he said, Skip, man, you did 2.5 years. He said, I did that in the shoot. He said, I did your time. He said, man, you better come over here, have a drink, and don't worry about that shit, man. I just did 10 years. You did 2.5. So he's telling me the best way to deal with it is let's go sit on the porch and have a drink.
Yeah, finish programming, adapt to the new yard. You know what I'm saying? If you jail,
Adapt to the new
adapt
yard,
to the new
man.
yard,
That's
man.
it.
No, adapt. You programming. You know what I'm saying? And so whatever you did to get back to here, it's continuation when it comes to, if you forget that and lose perspective, you end up back, man.
Man, that's so profound, brother. I hope that whoever sees this understand what you just said. Adapt to the new yard,
yeah,
man. Even though this new yard is here, me at home.
yeah. Don't forget. Don't lose perspective when it comes to, if you survive incarceration. There's a good in that. If you look at that, like you finna go back into an environment where that can help you if you see it for what it is. When it comes to, pat yourself on the back if you made it home, for starters. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not designed for you to make it home. It's designed to go further. We see all of these stories when it comes to man cats that started things that are inspiring those who don't know nothing about it, but now as soon as they get in the back seat of the car, they don't want to go no further with it because they wasn't reared up, in it how those who inspired them really were reared up in it. It was racially discriminated. It was some psychological things when it came to those things in respects to, how certain cultures and what they witnessed at periods in history that all added to it, including, African American and the culture that we have and how it's not to be overlooked when it comes to the mental situations that have developed over the years of being, we are descendants of slaves, man. Let's keep it real. And so there's a lot of things that when you understand how the mind works, it's impossible to get past a situation. You're just reinforcing what they call in the world of psychology generational, illness. And so it's adaptability, meaning like some of us, it's already in us to be callous out the gate before we end up in prison. And you see it. I keep real. I grew up around, it was, households. It was people like, man, family, just stay away from that hand, them over there. Man, don't be, just leave them alone type stuff. And of course we don't. We go hang, that's the funnest house to hang out with. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because kids are grown already in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So when you do run into one of them, like I ran into my homie up in here, shit, he taught me how to jail now. You know what I'm saying? Why? He was already used to it because he was, he go outside at 10 o'clock at night. Ain't nobody supervising nothing, But he matured when it came to what you need on this level. Because there ain't no books up in here. It's going to get that from the first dude that wanted to test me. That was the kind of stuff that I went through. I speak proper English, so I had some kid that didn't go to school, thinking he can bully me and make an issue out of me being smart or whatever. and I don't look like a gang member. Next thing you know, I'm putting him on his pockets, or we fighting tooth and nail, and they saying, damn, we didn't know he had it in him like that. And I adapted fast on the physical level because I was already taught to be competitive on that level. I mean, like I knew my family made it to a certain level that a lot of men can't make it to when it comes to the physical bronze and stuff, all that stuff. So by the time I got into prison and weightlifting, man, I was helping men in there do better exercise programs because I, was privy to professional ball players training and stuff like that. And so, it was a lot that came with it that had the camaraderie there. So you didn't feel too uncomfortable to be thinking about your psychic developing a certain way. You know what I'm saying? But you do adapt for survival, whether you know it or not. And it is something that can, develop into your DNA, or it can become a part of your DNA. I mean, so after a period of time, it's something that we may have adapted to. And that's a real danger when it comes to how easy it is for these children to resort to these type of activities today.
Right. So I want to close, brother, with some ways that people can help, man. Stopping the violence in the community, man, and as we say, adapting to this yard. But there are so many children, man, who don't get the help that's needed. And man, you've been working on a number of things, brother. And I tip my hat to you. Just talking to you, brother. I'm always enlightened. How can we enlighten other people to be mindful and to help with the young people?
Well, you definitely got to be genuine, when it comes to your approach on any level, because that's what children do know about people, man. It's like animals and sensing somebody, has got a bad soul, so to say. Children, they can tell, and it's a lot to do with they have probably been victimized already. And so it's in them. The defense mechanism, they don't care. You got to be authentic. And so you definitely, I mean, it's a no-brainer when it comes to, man, who gets up to want to make a mistake? You know what I'm saying? I don't think, if you do, you being a fool, you stupid, man. It's simply that we're not talking about you. We're talking about sensible people. Who gets up and wants to make a mistake? Nobody do. But if you continue to do the same things that's leading to your mistakes being made, that's insane, man. And so if you're insane, that's mental. And if it's mental, then it's a problem that people might not recognize, and maybe you should, seek some help, because that might help you in a way where people, if they don't know, don't have any sympathy for your ways of being and acting. And so I think it's best when your own people are real enough to tell you that, versus don't glamorize that, walk the line, homie, and keep your chin up. Also let them know, man, ain't we tired of bending over and spreading our ass cheeks and coughing for these people? Because this ain't cool, you know what I'm saying? And that's not gangster, and all that. Let's keep it real, man. You like waking up and you gotta take a number two in a room and it's Thanksgiving, and you next to a dude, now y'all fighting because you both upset because you ain't home. Now it's reinforced by something that's gonna always remind you of a bad taste in your mouth because Hobie had to take a shit, you know what I'm saying, on a day where you can't help it. Y'all locked up in a cell, man. Ain't nobody care about y'all in that sense, meaning like y'all gotta care for each other to understand. And that's how I survived and helped others survive, because we did a lot of talking in those cells. That's one of the things that I mean, you ain't gonna be this close to me and we can't communicate. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna agitate you to communicate. Why? Because that's the first step to helping somebody, man. Is get them to open up, because that's what helped me. And so the doctors missed me. I slipped and ducked and dodged them, but it was sitting with my my peers on the curb that did it for me. And then in reverse, I left them with they happened to survive out there like that, and it hurt me to come back. And a lot of them wasn't home anymore. They weren't here anymore. And it was like, man, if somebody could have got to them, or I could have got to them. As I got further into studies in prison and started to write some of my people and let them know, man, we did something wrong. We did something backwards. And I'm around some real awesome people, man. They showing me. You know what I'm saying? Because I was the first person to say, man, don't talk to me about no unity and You know, it was him that did it. Man, I ain't trying to hear about they do it and he the best. You know, I'm not. But it led to those who had compassion and patience, and they was some devastating individuals being like, man, they could have stopped my heart in seconds if they lacked patience with me. And so you gotta have patience, because that's what the kid is gonna understand about you and respect it. He want a big something. You know what I'm saying? Now they outgrowing the big homie. Telling this old motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? This nigga ain't shit, you know, whatever. It's like, man, if he start losing that desire to stay connected to somebody you look up to, then it's too late, man. And so that's why I step back on the block to holler and say, man, I love mine.
Yes, sir. Brother Ivan Scott, man, it's been a true pleasure sitting here talking with you, man. I appreciate your insight, appreciate everything you've shared. I just appreciate you, brother. Truly do.
Appreciate you, man. I appreciate all that you do. Like I said, you know, it has to be known that you guys are, you know, in my book, you know, Nobel Prize, you know, people. If I ever have the opportunities to advocate on that level, I have to for you all, because I know comparison when it comes to what you guys are doing or what we as a community are demonstrating to the rest of the world when it comes to what is plausible. And it's immediate right now. And so, you know, I'm behind what I created called an emergency mental health evaluation and treatment plan. It's a lot to do with how the stuff happening in Chicago is affecting me, psychologically. And it's because I have the empathy. And a lot of people are turning a cold shoulder on it because they have developed apathy through, you know, misinformation. They're not out seeing it for themselves anymore. Everything is on a screen. And so it's desensitizing mankind, because the common ground is, man, Sandy Hook is no different than, you know, the JDs.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But what's the difference when it comes to support and dialogue and what we gonna do about it and the resources being made available instantly for certain groups of people is nobody has connected them all and showed them the common ground. The common ground is the baby. It don't matter if he's white or black. It don't matter if he's a Muslim or a Jew. That's a baby.
Right.
And we all start out as babies, and that's the easiest thing that we can use to remind us of how powerful we are if we are able to say, let's stop because of the babies.
Right.
You know, and then the rest of the babies that come and sit at your feet to learn why it's beneficial to stop.
Yes, sir.